Hey everyone, Zion over here from Nintendo Life, and today we're here to share with you our review of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 edition, of course, on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, with this being an upgrade of a pre-existing Nintendo Switch game, we're going to be focusing heavily on the upgraded elements of this Switch 2 edition. If you want to hear more of our thoughts on Breath of the Wild itself and the core gameplay, check out our original review, which we'll leave a link to in the description down below. Now, this review was originally written by Ollie Reynolds for NintendoLife.com, but was reworked into this video by me. Despite how monumentally groundbreaking The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was on the Switch and the Wii U, for that matter, there's no denying that the game struggled ever so slightly under the weight of its own ambitions. A quick trip into Korok Forest confirms this, with the frame rate plummeting at frequent intervals. Thankfully, it was never enough to ruin what was one of the greatest games of all time. But in the lead up to the Switch 2's announcement, there was definitely a part of me that wondered just what Breath of the Wild could be like on beefier hardware. And now I don't need to fantasize, because Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is here, and it's absolutely glorious. Offered up via either a paid upgrade or as part of a Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack subscription, this update boasts enhanced resolution of up to 1440p docked, 1080p in handheld, rock-solid 60 FPS throughout, faster load times, an extra save file, and the Zelda Notes mobile app, which is quite terrible. Let's start with the positives, of which there are many. Thanks to the boost in resolution and frame rate, the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild is the best way to play a modern classic. There's no going back, folks. This is it. From the moment you exit the Shrine of Resurrection and gaze across the horizon, the improvements are immediately apparent. Mountains and trees in the distance are now significantly clearer with gorgeous detail, and swinging the camera around reveals just how unfathomably smooth the performance is. There wasn't a single moment when the frame rate faltered. Whether I lobbed a bomb into a bokoblin camp littered with exploding barrels, pranced around Korok Forest, parried an attack from a guardian, or whatever else the game could chuck at me, it ran flawlessly. Nintendo did the best with the hardware it had back in 2017, but the Nintendo Switch 2 edition represents Breath of the Wild at its absolute finest. Of course, with the enhancements and the natural passage of time, some textures are starting to look a little long in the tooth. Rocks, big and small mainly, but since the world is absolutely littered with them, you'll notice it quite a bit. It's a minor thing, of course, and the game largely still looks incredible thanks to the absurd scale and beautiful art design. With such robust performance enhancements, you'd think load times might go on a bit longer, but it's actually quite the opposite. Thanks to the Switch 2's extra power, loading screens are now zippier than ever before. Granted, you're still looking at around 5 or 6 seconds when teleporting or entering a shrine, so it's hardly instantaneous, but it's a lot faster now. So from a technical standpoint, Breath of the Wild is much improved. This is the same game you know and love, but now better looking and smoother than you ever thought possible. If you want to experience the enhancements from the start of the game without getting rid of your original progress, you can, as the Switch 2 edition introduces a second save file, which might sound somewhat inconsequential on paper, but it's a lifesaver for those who want a fresh start but are hesitant to overwrite their original save. Nintendo didn't stop there though. Oh no, you've also got a bunch of extra content too. The catch, however, is that it's not in the game itself, but rather via Zelda Notes, which is stored within the Nintendo Switch mobile app. And to put it bluntly, it's rough. To give credit where it's due, the ability to sync up the gameplay almost perfectly to the app is actually quite impressive. It knows exactly where you are in the environment, and this in turn allows you to use a couple of interesting features. The first of these, and perhaps the most significant, is Voice Memories, which features voice work from Patricia Somerset as Princess Zelda to provide bits of history and anecdotes on a whole bunch of landmarks littered throughout Hyrule. Discovering these hinges on a beeping sound via the app that indicates how close you are to a voice memory, kind of like how the Sheikah sensor works for shrines. You can turn this off if it gets annoying, which it probably will very quickly, but then you have to keep glancing at your phone to monitor a little yellow flashing symbol. Honestly, the voice memories themselves, while perfectly harmless, aren't interesting or vital enough to warrant having to put up with the incessant beeping or looking at your phone all the time. I play games to switch off from the outside world, so having a constant reminder that my phone is there is borderline infuriating. Either put the stuff in the game itself or don't bother. Elsewhere, the navigation feature lets you locate specific characters or structures in the world, like Koroks and shrines. Chances are that if you've been playing Breath of the Wild since 2017, you've probably already found everything worth searching for. For everyone else, this is basically a way to achieve 100% completion. Like the voice memories, you can activate a voiceover to point you in the right direction, but having a repetitive voice that sounds like a GPS in a traditional fantasy setting is horrendously jarring. You've also got a daily bonus feature acting as a roulette wheel to grant you various perks like weapon repairs and meals. I've got nothing against this, as it acts like activating an amiibo without having to actually grab an amiibo. You can also view play data, tinker around with in-game photos, and even exchange items with other players. If you find yourself using and enjoying Zelda notes, that's wonderful, but I just couldn't get on with it at all. The very notion of using a smartphone to access bonus features completely yanked me out of what is otherwise an all-encompassing experience. Voice memories, navigation, and even the daily bonus features could have all been implemented in the game itself, and honestly, Zelda Notes' only saving grace is that it's not enabled automatically. Just leave it be. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is undoubtedly the best way to play one of the greatest games of all time. The visual and performance enhancements remove any issues that you may have had to endure with the original game. It's practically flawless from that perspective. Sadly, the Zelda Notes app really brings the whole thing down. Useful features that should have been implemented in-game have been relegated to your smartphone, and using it completely breaks immersion in this incredible world. I'm only thankful that it's not even remotely mandatory. Leave Zelda Notes to one side, and you've got the definitive presentation of a modern classic. We here at Nintendo Life give The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 Edition an 8 out of 10. If you'd like to reference Ollie's original review, you can find that over at nintendolife.com with loads of other news, information, and guides on the Legend of Zelda series. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time. Hey, listen, you made it to the end of the video. It's Zion, and I've got some of my own thoughts I wanted to share with you on this new, updated version of Breath of the Wild. So as far as Zelda Notes go, I can totally understand what Ollie's talking about here. I actually have a few shrines. I've got about 10 left in Breath of the Wild that I never finished. I told myself, hey, actually, I don't want this game to be over yet. I want it to kind of linger, and I want there to be more things for me to go back and do someday, and just have some little surprises. I booted up the Zelda Notes app on my phone, and I was using it to track down a few shrines that I've never discovered. And I really did find the voice directions pretty frustrating, because there was one point where I was riding on my horse and I had to go I had to cut through and go around some water, but the app thought that I was going in the wrong direction, and rather than like a GPS app where it knows the roads, it was just telling me what direction to go. So it kept yelling at me to go southeast when realistically I was supposed to be heading north instead. I was also thinking for a way to kind of increase the immersion would be to find like a Sheikah Slate style carrying case for your phone that you could put that in to then kind of trick your brain into thinking that you're actually using a Sheikah Slate when you play the game. But one thing that's kind of lame is that the Zelda Notes app actually doesn't have a landscape horizontal mode at all. You can only use the app vertically. And maybe someone at Nintendo will think of this and they'll add that in later down the road. Maybe they'll sell a Sheikah Slate carrying case. But I think that would be a really neat way to, not remind yourself that you're looking back at your phone and seeing notifications pop up. Even while I was recording some gameplay of my phone for this, some notifications from my colleagues were popping up. And Ollie is totally right. It can be so nice to just dive into a video game and not have to look at your phone and not have to worry about anything else. I do think the voice memories are quite cute as well. In a way, it reminds me of like watching a movie with developer commentary, but here you get in-game lore from Princess Zelda. And I think that's just a neat way to incentivize people to try and play this game again. And honestly, you shouldn't need much convincing. if you've got the time. It's an absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking world, and it looks better than ever. So if you have a Switch 2 and you have a hankering to play Breath of the Wild again, go for it.